poll ants live for us from Georgia. Thank you. Jim?
All right, let's discuss some more the politics. We'll see it in politics commentators. Alice Stewart and Maria Cardona. Good to have you both.
Great to be here. Good to be here.
First, let's look at some of this polling in Iowa. Trump with a big lead. I want to ask you, just as a devil's advocate for a moment, the thing about Iowa is that second choice votes matter. You know, if your first choice candidate doesn't make it, then you can switch to another candidate. Is it possible that even if Trump wins, a viable alternative might emerge from this that consolidates some of that non-Trump vote?
It's completely possible for that to happen, and that's the beauty of Iowa, is that it's not necessarily there to pick the winner for the nomination. It's there to winnow the field. And what you're talking about there, Jim, is a key part of this poll. Ann Seltzer, who puts on this poll, is loved and loathed amongst campaigns because she understands Iowa politics and how it works. And what you're referring to is what they call the Iowa footprint. And as caucus goers, you can go in and you said you can pick your first or second choice, and they're still looking at it. But what this poll does, it asks people, what is your number one choice, your number two choice, and your third choice? And that is the Iowa footprint they look at. With these numbers, Donald Trump is 63, Ron DeSantis 61. So the Iowa caucus process and the footprint is not as great for Donald Trump as the original numbers show. Ron DeSantis is really nipping at his heels. And the Iowa caucus process, being unique as it is beneficial to someone other than Trump.
That's notable. And it's interesting, too, when you look at history. Right? Reagan, George H.W. Bush, and by the way, Trump in 2016 lost the Iowa caucus, still went on to get the nomination. I wonder, Maria Cardona, are Democrats silently hoping for Trump to be the nominee?
That's a good question, and I've heard both things. Both yes, because clearly he is somebody that Joe Biden already beat, and I believe that if Trump is the nominee, as well as other Republican strategists believe this too, which is why they're trying to find somebody else desperately, that Joe Biden will beat him again. It will by no means be easy. But I also believe that no matter who is the nominee, if it's not Donald Trump, and that's a big if, I believe that Joe Biden will beat that person as well. Again, not easy. We cannot take anything for granted because we live in a super polarized, divided country. But the fact is that every single candidate who has any possibility of making it out as the nominee is supporting an extremist MAGA agenda that the vast majority of the American people do not agree with. And what is so harmful for the Republicans as a party is that they have to be all in. They have to promise that they will absolutely support this extremist MAGA agenda in order to win the nomination. But that agenda is what is anathema to the vast majority of the American people, including independent voters, which they need to
I get the sense you want to pipe in.
If I can just clarify one point that my good friend Maria made. It is not the extreme MAGA agenda in an electorate that would be taking on Joe Biden. Part of what this Republican Party is doing and what we're seeing with the RNC and this debate, asking all of those participating in this debate to sign the loyalty pledge, this is not just a loyalty pledge to support the nominee, but it is a beat Biden pledge. The Republican Party is going to galvanize together as we get a nominee to beat Biden and beat these policies that are causing the economy to be the way it is, safety and security for the American people to be at a place where they don't like. And if you want to run on the economy, that's unfortunate because the American people aren't feeling good about the economy.
We should note that the current frontrunner has not signed that pledge.
Exactly.
The guy by the name Donald J. Trump.
That's exactly right.
Is there any credible race that's quiet behind the scenes among Democrats for an alternative to Joe Biden?
Absolutely not. No.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
I mean, there are some PACs that have been set up by Gretchen Whitmer, for instance.
By people who might, in an imaginary world, given the reality that we're in today, they're not thinking correctly, I believe. Right now, Joe Biden is going to be our nominee, our nominee is running for re-election. And he is in an extremely powerful, strong position to beat, again, like I said, whoever is the Republican nominee, because my dear friend Alice might want to say that the whole Republican PAC is focused on beating Joe Biden. But what you're going to see in the debate is they're going to all try to out-MAGA each other. They're going to say who is going to be the most extremist that is going to talk about getting rid of the 14th Amendment, talk about who can ban more books, talk about who is going after the woke in the country, going after more places where they can take away women's rights to choose. And they're all going to be supporting Donald Trump, who is a huge threat to our democracy. So by all means, this is going to be a wonder list of things that Democrats are going to be running on in the general election, because, again, the vast majority of the American people do not support an extremist
before
agenda.
we go, and I can't give you too much time, but on reproductive rights, you know that doesn't work for Republicans in general. Are the positions staked out in the primaries among Republicans going to irreparably harm them in the general?
Look, the Republican nominee must be pro-life, and that's without a doubt. But they also understand that when the abortion issue is on the ballot, it is harmful for the pro-life community. So they're going to have to make sure that they convince Republican voters they are pro-life, but look at it more from also a general election standpoint, that we need to shift the conversation to making sure that there are guidelines in place and not third trimester, and not third trimester abortions, and just shift the conversation. But you can still be pro-life, but still also not.
It hasn't worked for you yet.
And the third trimester abortion, as you know, is a tiny fraction of overall women who make that choice. Maria.